The San Francisco 49ers are going to have the biggest turnaround in the NFL, and I cannot wait for this team to shock everybody for this upcoming year. I have heard the craziest narratives around the 49ers this entire offseason. Everybody is jump ship. Everybody is saying that Brock Purdy can't be the guy that gets the 49ers over the hump, and I completely disagree, and I believe that this is the year that we're going to see Purdy, Shanahan, and everybody on this Niners squad prove the entire NFL world wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching. I'm all in on the San Francisco 49ers. I have been for a while. They obviously get to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. You go up against one of the greatest players in the history of the sport in Patrick Mahomes, and he ultimately outduels you in overtime in the Super Bowl, but you still feel good because you've still got the core of pieces around your team. Yes, Brock Purdy's still on that young contract, but you still feel like you've got a good shot to run it back. Well, the injury bug hits the San Francisco 49ers. You have so many guys go down for the season, so many guys that miss time throughout the season, and it was just really tough for the 49ers to bounce back from this. They only won 6 games. Then some really tough decisions had to be made this offseason, and ultimately, this is when you finally saw the Brock Purdy contract come into play, the pretty weapons, the nice pieces defensively. Some of them had to be shedded, and that's exactly what happened. They lost Aaron Banks to the Green Bay Packers. They lost Deebo Samuel. They had to trade him at the beginning of the offseason. They lost a ton defensively. They lost Charvarius Ward, former All-Pro linebacker, and Dre Greenlaw, former All-Pro safety and Talanoa Hufanga, Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, and Leonard Floyd. They got torched defensively, but they also made a lot of moves this offseason as well. They obviously extended Brock Purdy to a 5-year, $265 million contract that I was very happy about. I believe that Purdy is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. I believe he's one of the premier players in the league. And I think a lot of NFL teams get stuck in this situation where you're paying somebody over $50 million a year and you've got to decipher, is this a guy that's in the range of 10 to 16, maybe of the likes of a Trevor Lawrence, a Tua Tagovailoa, somebody in that range where you can't win because of them, but you can't just let them walk out the door. So what you do is you pay them over $50 million a year, or is he inside of the top 10, maybe top 8 quarterbacks that you can win football games because of? And I believe that Brock Purdy can win you football games. He's just got to have the proper playmakers out there with him. He had nobody last year, and I understand the narrative around Purdy's that like, oh, he only has success because he has the Avengers offensively. Yeah, I think some of that can be true. I think that MVP caliber season that he had 2 years ago definitely was helpful because of the weapons he has, but every quarterback has great weapons. We can't just pick and choose which QBs we want to dock because of the pretty weapons that they had. Mahomes was winning Super Bowls with the best receiver in football and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Andy Reid. You could argue that that's one of the best situations in the entire league. We didn't see Josh Allen take these huge strides until he got Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis. You look at Joe Burrow. That might be one of the best receiving cores that we've ever seen in football when it's all said and done. When you look at the greatness of Jamar Chase and you look at the greatness of T. Higgins, Justin Herbert just came out of the womb with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So he had some great receivers, and everybody wants to act like, oh, because Brock Purdy had tremendous weapons, he's not a great quarterback. I completely disagree. Now that his guys are healthy, he's going to be able to show that he's still one of the best players in the NFL. I can't wait for Brock Purdy to prove everybody wrong, but they extended him on a 5-year, $265 million contract. They also re-signed George Kittle on a 4-year, $64 million extension. I love this move. And then, of course, the best linebacker in football, arguably one of the best defensive players in football, they re-signed linebacker Fred Warner on a 3-year, $63 million contract. So they brought back their 3 cornerstone pieces, obviously Fred Warner on that defense, and then you've got Brock Purdy, George Kittle, your 2 cornerstones offensively, your 2 culture setters. This is huge for San Francisco, huge for them to bring those guys back, not only bring them back, but to be healthy. More importantly, they just were so brutalized by that injury bug last year. And I think more importantly right now, it's going to come down to what John Lynch can do in the draft of these upcoming years. Because yeah, they've paid these guys some of the big time money now that they were saving, holding back on with the Purdy contracts. Well, now that you've paid Brock Purdy, you've got to be able to hit in the draft. And I'm really optimistic, quite frankly, about what the 49ers did in the draft. I think they did a tremendous job. You look at their first 5 picks, they went defense, 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 defense. I am all in on doing that. I mentioned the guys that they lost on that side of the ball. I mean, they got killed defensively. They lost so many starters. They lost all pros, guys that were so pivotal to help this team out. But I think the one thing that's going to really help this 49ers defense get back to where they were when they were contending for Super Bowls is they brought back Robert Saleh. Now, his tenure in New York did not go well whatsoever. We all understand the debacle that happened with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think you can necessarily blame Robert Saleh for the entirety of that just clown show that was New York for the few years that he was up there. I don't think you can blame Robert Saleh for that. Yes, they were bad, but that defense was always one of the best in football. And we know that Robert Saleh had a tremendous defense when he was in San Francisco and he was the defensive coordinator. Now he's back. I love this move for San Francisco because the defense was bad for San Fran last year. That front 7 could not stop the run to save their lives. They need to be a lot better this year, and I think they can be a lot better, and their draft would tell you that they're going to be a lot better on that side of the ball. They drafted Mykel Williams out of Georgia, an edge that I'm really excited about. He was just an explosive, dynamic player out of college. I think this is going to be really big for San Francisco, and then they went with a defensive tackle out of Texas, and Alfred Collins that should really help out this defensive line. They went with Nick Martin in the 3rd round, a linebacker out of Oklahoma State. Later in the 3rd round, they went with Uptown Stout, a corner out of Western Kentucky, and then CJ West also in the 4th round out of Indiana, another defensive tackle. So their first 5 picks in the NFL draft in 2025 were all defensive players, and that would tell you the type of help they needed on that side of the ball. So I definitely think defensively it's going to be more of a question mark for San Francisco, but it's going to come down to what John Lynch can do in terms of hitting in the NFL draft. I believe that he can do it. He's a tremendous general manager. I know that he can draft talent to this Niners team. They've just got to do it now if they want to be able to contend with some of these better teams in the NFL. And I think there's a lot to be optimistic about here if you're the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, you won 6 games last year. Yes, you had a string of injuries that completely derailed your season. But on the other hand, you're going to be healthy now. You know what your game plan is. There are all these rumors. Okay, are we going to bring back Brock Purdy? Everybody knew that they were going to do it, but you just never know in today's day and age in the NFL. They bring back Brock Purdy. You get Christian McCaffrey back. You're going to get Ayuk back. You took Pearsall in the 1st round. He really started to explode onto the scene last year. Juwan Jennings is now back at practice. This offense can still be one of the best in football, in my opinion. And only 2 short years ago, it was one of the best in football. And that's the reason why they nearly won the Super Bowl. Now, yes, the defense is definitely a question mark, but I believe that Robert Saleh is going to have this D tuned up and ready to go. And not to mention, the San Francisco 49ers got absolutely blessed with the easiest schedule in football. It's absolutely ridiculous. If you go through it, San Francisco, I believe, has the upside of winning 13 or 14 games with this bad of a schedule. They should easily be able to capitalize on it, hopefully stay healthy. But I think Vegas would even tell you they're backing San Francisco in terms of the NFC with how much of a gauntlet it is right now, with how many great teams there are, with Parsons coming over to the Packers, with the reigning defending champions in the Philadelphia Eagles, with the Los Angeles Rams, who I'm very high on for this upcoming year. The 49ers have the 2nd shortest odds to make the playoffs in the NFC, right behind Philadelphia. So you've got to be really excited because Vegas and the sports books are also backing the 49ers, and it's for good reason. They've got a ridiculously easy schedule. We'll run through it here real quick. I'll give you guys my final predictions for the Niners. Let's hop into the schedule. The first 2 weeks of the season, they're going to be on the road. They started out on the road against Seattle. This can be an interesting game here because I do think they ultimately will split against Seattle. I could see them dropping this one and then everyone starts to freak out like, oh my gosh, the 49ers are going to be terrible again. I could see them losing this game. So just for the sake of the split, I'm going to have the 49ers lose week 1 to Seattle. Everyone starts to lose their minds. They'll bounce back on the road against New Orleans. They're 1-1. I believe they'll beat Arizona. They'll beat Jacksonville. They are 3-1 at this point. I think they'll split against Los Angeles. I like them to lose this game. I think Tampa Bay is also going to be a tough game for San Francisco. I think they're going to have one of the better offenses in football, but I like San Francisco to pull off an upset here. I have them at 4-2. I like them to beat Atlanta. They're 5-2. Houston, I believe, is going to be one of the better teams in the NFL. I think this is actually when we see San Francisco get sniped here. They are 5-3 through 8 weeks. They'll bounce back against New York. They're 6-3. This is where the split comes in against LA. I believe they're 7-3. I like them to sweep Arizona. I'm not too high on Arizona this year. I believe this is a huge make or break year for Kyler Murray. I like the Niners to get this one done. They are 8-3. They'll beat Carolina and they'll beat Cleveland before they get into their bye week, which is it's kind of a dual-edged sword here. I expect the 49ers to make a deep postseason run. So at this point, they're going to be 10-3, and they're going to have one of the later bye weeks in the NFL. Week 14 is ridiculously late. So, maybe if you have some lingering injuries after playing 13 straight weeks of football, this bye week is super huge to allow you to get healthy again before you get into the postseason. But I like the 49ers here at 10-3 before they head into the bye week. I think they can really take advantage of this easier schedule. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think they win out after the bye week. I really do. I think San Francisco beats Tennessee. They go on the road. They beat Indianapolis on Monday Night Football, and they're going to beat Chicago at home. They'll pull off the split against Seattle. I think the 49ers win 14 games this year. I have been looking at this schedule. I've been looking at the roster. I've been looking at this team's offense. I look at the track record that Robert Saleh has. I love the draft the 49ers pulled off. It seems like everything is coming together for San Francisco to really be a big-time surprise team. And I've got to come out on a limb here, and I believe in this team. I believe in Brock Purdy. There are so many things and so many factors that come into having a winning recipe in football, and it seems like San Francisco's got it right now. They have a huge revenge narrative coming into this year, and I believe that they're going to shock the NFL world. Give me the San Francisco 49ers to win 14 games, grab the number 1 seed in the NFC, and make a deep postseason run. I'm Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching.